Good day, Junior Tuckies, and to anybody who might be tuning in, welcome to this English home language lesson for grade 8. Today we are going to take a look at parts of speech and more specifically at adverbs, which there are quite a few categories of adverb that you will need to know from now on until matric. The teacher who is walking you through this lesson today is Miss Langtree, that is me. Thanks again for joining us and I hope that you enjoy. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning. It's a good place to start, and let's have a look at what an adverb actually is. So, an adverb is a word or a group of words which add detail to the verb of a sentence. They add description to the verb so that the reader can understand it better. Okay, the key word being verb, because there is a word that adds description. But it adds description to the noun. What is that called? That is an adjective. Okay? So think of these two types of parts of speech as cousins. They're similar, but they're very, very different. And it's, you know, those cousins that kind of look very similar and you sometimes get confused between the two. Unfortunately, that's adverbs and adjectives for you. They can often be mistaken for one another. Okay? So remember, adverb, it adds detail to the verb. It adds to the verb. Okay. And they are actually very, very important parts of speech indeed, because, you know, let's look at the pictures here. Here we have very general verbs. Okay, we have the rhinoceroses are walking and the leopard is walking. Now, walking is something that most of us do quite often, or animals do it. So if you say the boy is walking, it doesn't really tell me anything specific about the way they're walking, which would help me get to know the scenario a little bit better. So what I've done is I've given you some very, very different animals, and the way that they walk are extremely different. And I want you to take a moment and I want you to think of two sort of verbs that would help us to understand the way these adverbs, that would help us to understand the way these animals are walking a bit better. Have you thought of any of them? Okay, perhaps they are similar to the ones that I've given you on the screen already. If you take a look here, I said, well, the leopard is walking gracefully. The leopard is walking silently. Okay, they are very silent. If anyone's been lucky enough to see one, it's not because you heard it, most likely. Okay, they are very, very quiet. Quietly. The leopard is walking quietly. The leopard is walking stealthily. Okay, when you are being stealthy, you are being sneaky. You could even write sneakily. The way it's walking. It's when you are trying to kind of jump up and ambush somebody. Now, a leopard, yes, it's arguably one of the best animals at doing that. Okay, it's walking very carefully. Okay, and it's walking very proudly. Okay, let's have a look at the rhino over here. Here he is. I would not use the way a rhino walks. I would not use the adverb gracefully. No offense to Mr. Rhino. But he probably does walk a bit more clumsily. He walks heavily. He walks with a lot of weight on his shoulders, and that can tell it's not a silent sort of walk. It's more like a trot. Okay, so he's walking quite heavily. He's got a lot to carry. He's walking loudly. Okay, he's walking, this is such a lovely adverb. He is walking galumphingly. If someone is galumphing through the door, you could actually almost say that galumph is onomatopoeia, because, or an idiophone, because it actually sounds like the way someone walks if they are galumphingly walking. And that is because it's galumph. It's like very clumsy and it's very heavy, and it's like they're almost thudding every time they hit the floor. They're not really in control of the way that they are performing the activity. If you're doing hurdles galumphingly, chances are you're knocking over every single hurdle that you go past. Okay, and also carelessly or recklessly. Okay, I am being quite harsh to rhinos who actually do, they don't walk that badly. You know, they're not that loud, my goodness. But they can be very reckless. Okay, they can just walk through the bushes. They don't need to walk around. Do you know what I mean? So they can cause a bit of distraction. So you could say that they're walking recklessly. Okay, so this is the sort of thing we're dealing with. So you've got your basic standard verb. Okay, these are finite verbs. Why? Because they have a auxiliary verb and they have a non-finite verb put together so that they can tell us about the subject. Well, they can change for the subject and they can tell us the tense. So we've got some basic verbs here. Walking, walking, and it's all about the adverb. The adverb paints the picture for us quite beautifully. Okay, so let's move on to the different categories. Okay, everyone, so let's take a brief look at which types of adverbs the CAPS document requires us to learn. When I'm referencing the CAPS document, what I'm referencing is the document that was released by the Department of Education, and these are the documents that they use to set your matric exams. I'm looking at the grade 7, 8, and 9 CAPS document, but it will all come together for the final exam. So this is what they specify that you are required to learn by the end of grade 9. Adverb of time. Okay, when the following action is done. Yesterday, tomorrow, last year, last week, the other day, next month. So it's really, yeah, an adverb of time placing us into the day. Okay, then adverb of place, where the action is done. So yeah, there's adverb of time, adverb of place, where it's done. Forward, far, not fard, far. Okay, there's no D there. Okay, backwards, above, behind, through, and around. Not to be confused with prepositions. Okay, prepositions explain the relationship between two things. So the desk is on top of the floor. This is more an adverb where it's something like the girl jumped forward. Okay, the place is far. No, that's still not an adverb. The monkey swung far. Okay, so that's the sort of thing we're dealing with here when we talk about an adverb of place. It's still describing the verb. Okay, adverb of manner, how the action is done. This is the classic adverb that we know very well. It often ends with an ly, okay, but not always. So it's how the hippopotamus walks compared to how the leopard walks, okay? Quietly, carefully, politely, softly, quickly. Then we move on to more tricky adverbs, but they're okay once you wrap your head around them. And I must say, we are going to be unpacking these in a bit more detail now. But anyway, let's just quickly go through them. Adverb of frequency, how often the action is done. Okay, I always swim, I usually swim, I often swim, I sometimes swim, and I never swim. Okay, so that's an adverb of frequency. How often do you do the verb in question? Adverb of duration. Okay, how long is the action done for? Still, yet, anymore. How long? So what action has a timer? Baking has a timer. Cooking has a timer. Okay, so maybe we can think about it like that. The eggs are still not done. The eggs are yet to be done. The eggs are not soft anymore. Okay, so perhaps we can think about it like that. So think of a timer when it comes to adverb of duration. Adverb of probability. Okay, how likely is it that an action is done? Certainly, definitely, maybe, perhaps, or possibly. Okay, let's think of an action where we might, it can differ depending on the day. I'm going back to swimming. because sometimes it's a very enticing idea, hey, to jump into the pool. But on a day like this, this video is getting recorded in winter. The wind is howling outside. I will maybe swim. I will perhaps swim. Not likely. I will not likely swim. Or on a summer day, I will certainly swim. I will definitely swim. Okay, so how likely are you to actually perform this verb? I will definitely do my homework. Well, it's like, I will probably not do my homework. Okay, but I hope that you do your homework. All right, number 7, adverbs of degree. How much of the verb is completed? Okay, let's go back to our baking or our cooking verb. Okay, how complete is it? It's completely cooked, or it's strongly done, or I strongly agree. How much do you agree? I strongly agree. Okay, I totally agree. I quite agree. I rather agree. Or the eggs are quite done, or they're rather done. Okay, agreeing, it's a verb. It's what you do. You agree or you disagree. Okay, so perhaps you can think about it like that. Now let's go and unpack these in a bit more detail. Before we unpack the adverbs in more detail, I think that this is very important indeed, and it's how to identify and approach adverbs. Okay, so you get given a paragraph and there's lots of words that are underlined in this paragraph, and you're trying to figure out if you're dealing with an adverb or not. Ask yourself, okay? Number 1, let me get into writing. Is this word giving detail to the verb? Okay, is it telling me about the action or how the action is done? Okay, we've got an adverb on our hands. Right, that is the most important step. Number 2, is this word telling me something about the way in which the verb has performed? Okay, is it telling me how I agreed, when I agreed, where, why? What is it actually telling me? And then if it is telling me how, okay, is it telling me the probability or how often? Okay, so just think about that. So if you know your adverbs, then you know which questions to ask, okay, and then it will come quite easily to you if you practice. Okay, let's move on. No, thank you. Right. No. Okay. Adverb of manner. How the action is done. Okay. The lifesaver swam bravely through the waves. Okay. How did the lifesaver swim? Bravely. Okay. It's quite tempting to say that the lifesaver is brave, and to say that bravely is an adjective. If it said the brave lifesaver, or the lifesaver is brave and swam through the waves, we would be dealing with an adjective, because that would be giving us detail about the noun. But it's saying that he swam bravely. It's describing the way he swam. Okay, so we're dealing with an adverb. And it's telling us how he swam, so it's manner. The student quietly said his oral to the class. Okay, we can sort of decipher, oh, all right, perhaps the student is shy. It is giving us detail, but no. It's saying how he said it. How did he say the oral? Quietly. Okay. The lion ferociously bit the poor impala. Is ferociously or poor the adverb here? Okay, well, first of all, let's find the verb. The verb is bit. Biting is something animals do. People don't do it. Please don't do it. Okay, so bit is the verb. What is helping us understand the verb a bit better? The word ferociously, which means very aggressively. Okay, so here the verb is telling us how the lion bit the impala ferociously. Therefore, it is an adverb of manner. So, if it's telling you how an action is done, that is what we are dealing with, an adverb of manner. Let's move on to adverb of time. Adverb of time is a wonderful adverb. Anytime it's sort of telling you when this action will be performed, we are dealing with an adverb of time. Okay? The jogger ran daily. When did the jogger run? Daily. Okay? So this is a tricky one because now it doesn't actually look like an adjective, does it? I mean, well, it shouldn't because it's an adverb. Sorry. But it's starting to be a bit trickier. Okay, but let's keep our wits about us. It's still telling us about this run. Okay, it says daily run. Okay. The bell will ring soon. Okay, what is the verb in this sentence? Will ring is the finite verb. When is it going to ring? Soon. Okay. The wizard waved his wand instantly. Okay, when did the wizard wave his wand? Okay, wave instantly. Do you see how it's not giving us any detail about the wizard really? But it is telling us about how he waved his wand. Okay, so it's an adverb. I check my phone hourly. That's not healthy. Although I probably do that. Just to check the time, I promise. Okay, hourly, when, so check, I check is the verb, okay? When is it checked? Hourly. Do you see what I'm trying to say, guys? Do you see how it does actually give us detail about the verb? All right. And in doing so, indirectly, it tells us about the speaker because it tells us how the speaker is performing their tasks, which does give us a lot of information about the person. Okay. Here we see when this person checks their phone. Therefore, the key word for an adverb of time is when. It's telling us when a verb is performed. Let us take a look at the adverb of place. Again, this is quite a lovely logical one, if I do say so myself. Okay, adverb of place is telling us where the action took place, and hence it is giving us more detail into the action. Okay, so I could see far into the distance. Okay, what's the verb there? See, or could see. No, let's just do see. Okay, I see far into the future. So, far into the distance, should I say. What is helping us understand how this person was seeing? Okay, or where this person was seeing? Far. So far is the adverb. Okay, into is a preposition. We're going to go into prepositions in the next video. So do not despair. I will explain prepositions a bit better. But yes, the verb here is see, and far is the adverb because it's showing us how he's seeing. He's seeing far. It's showing us where he's seeing, should I say. The smell wafted indoors. Okay, what's the verb here? Wafted. Wafted is like the drifting or moving in a slow pace. Okay, smell is an abstract noun. Okay, so we've got a verb here. Okay, we've got our subject. So this is a full sentence. But where did the smell waft? Indoors. Okay, so it's helping us understand the wafting a bit better. It's helping us understand that verb. Do that outside. Okay, where should this be done? Outside. Okay, so do is the verb. A verb is a doing word, so do is definitely a verb. Where should you do it? Outside. Okay, so it's helping us, okay, a little bit to understand where the verb is going to be done. Okay, so the key word for an adverb of place is where. Okay, now we're going to move on to adverbs of frequency and adverbs of duration. This is when it starts to become a bit tricky, so just stick with me and I'm sure you will be okay. So, adverbs of frequency. Do you have any hobbies? How often do you do these hobbies? Okay, so pretend that someone is asking you that. Okay, how often is the action you actually done. Okay, and some of the examples of these words could be always, usually, often, sometimes, or never. Do you wash the dishes? Oh yes, I always wash the dishes. I sometimes wash the dishes. Ew, I never wash the dishes. Okay, so it just depends on you. Okay, so that's sort of where we're going with this. Okay, so do you come to the store often? Okay, so do you see how the word comes? So do you visit? Do you visit the store? So that you physically visit often? And then you can reply, well, I always do. I usually do. I often do. I sometimes do. I never do. So it's showing when we say frequency, it means how much or how often. Okay, so that's why these words are quite important and quite key for us to remember when it comes to frequency, okay? Because they can slot into any of these sorts of sentences. Right. Then when we talk about an adverb of duration, we're talking about how long is the action done for. For example, still, yet, anymore. So think about a verb that has a timer set to it. I like to use the one for cooking, but you could use anything with a timer, sort of a cross country where you have to run a far distance or anything like that. Okay, but for this example, let's use a cooking example. Okay, so for how long, I'm looking over here. Okay, for example, how long has the chicken been cooking? The answer is an adverb of duration because it's got a set time, okay, to it. So this could be the egg finished cooking. So cooking is the main verb here. When did it finish cooking? Soon. Now. That's informal, but we use it all the time. In a quarter of an hour. Okay, so that is when something has quite a small timer on it. Okay, the egg still isn't finished cooking yet or anymore. Okay, those are some more adverbs of duration. Okay, and adverbs of duration always have a timer on them. Okay. Okay, and then we are going to move on to our last two. Well done for sticking with it. I promise when you study these, it will make a lot of sense to you. Okay, but let's just carry on for now and see how much we can retain now. Okay, so adverbs of probability. How likely is it that the action is done? I'm not sure when in mathematics you start to do probability. I don't think it's from grade 8 yet, but one day in maths, you are going to look at some dice and you are going to, hopefully the teacher will give you some dice to physically roll. If you've never dealt with dice before, they have 6 sides and the sides differ from 1 to 6. So this side has 2, then this side will have 4. And basically when you roll the dice, what is the probability of getting 2 6s? And then you do the maths and it's 6 times 6 or something like that, because there's 6 sides to the dice, and then you've got to do the math. So it's a 1 in 36 chance of getting 2 6s to land. Okay, and sort of that's the idea behind probability in maths. So when we talk about probability in English, we're basically saying how likely is it that this action is going to be done. Okay, and some of the examples are certainly, definitely, maybe, perhaps, and possibly. For example, say you've got a younger sibling and someone asks them to clean their room and they say, okay, I'll go do it now, and they leave. You could kind of ask yourself, what is the probability of them actually cleaning their room? Okay, perhaps it's not likely. Not likely is another one. Or less likely. Okay. Or perhaps they definitely will, or certainly will. I don't know. Okay. So let's have a look at the explanation over here. Okay. What are the chances? Probability is the study of how likely something is to happen. For example, what is the probability of children who listen to music from a young age having a more finely tuned ability to speak and communicate? The answer might surprise you. It's actually 100%. 100% it has been proven that children who listen to music from a young age actually have a more finely tuned ability to communicate, which is fascinating. Perhaps they're listening to more words from a younger age, or perhaps that's the reason, but yes, blast that music for the young children. And even, well, you can play your music, don't blast it. But anyway, so that's an answer. So you could say, yeah, what are the chances of my younger sibling cleaning their room? You could ask yourself that. Or you could say, what are the chances of getting 2 6s on a dice? Okay, and then these sorts of answers, okay, are what you're looking for. Okay, the verb would have been cleaning, or is cleaning, or will clean. Okay, that the adverb will help us understand the chance of cleaning happening. Okay, then adverb of degree, how much of the verb is completed. Okay, before we get into the example, let's look at some of the words that we can use for adverb of degree over here. So it's completely finished, it's strongly completed, okay, it's totally completed, it's quite completed, or it's rather finished. Okay, perhaps we can look at an assignment or our homework. Okay, how far along are you with your essay? You can say, well, I'm finished writing completely. Writing would be the verb. Okay, completely. It's coming along strongly. Okay, coming along, my essay. Okay, that's the verb, right? Coming strongly. Totally. Okay, how much do I agree with you? I totally agree. Okay, I'm not a little wishy-washy. Okay, I'm not sure if I agree. No, I totally agree. I quite agree, or I rather agree. So perhaps what we should, perhaps the sentence we should use to remember adverbs of degree could be, how much do you agree with your friend saying a statement? Okay, and then you say, well, I quite agree, but I don't know if you're quite right. Or I rather agree, but I'm not sure. Okay, that's when you're not quite there. Or I strongly agree with you, but okay. Or I completely agree with what you're saying. What you're saying is totally correct. Okay, so your friend says a statement. How much do you agree? Agree is the verb, okay? To agree with someone, okay? And these are therefore your adverb of degree. Okay, how much do you agree? What degree do you agree? I'm trying to make it simpler, but I fear I'm making it more complicated. I'm so sorry. Before I move on, I just want to quickly go through the example here with you. Okay, so is the building of the house finished? Okay, well, the hallway is done completely. Is done is the verb. Okay, how far is it done? Completely. How much is done? All of it. Okay, the ceiling is coming along rather well. Rather well is an adverb. Okay, the upper floor is totally complete. Okay, the kitchen needs quite a bit of work. Needs. Okay, what does it need? Or how much does it need? Quite a bit. Quite a bit. Okay, the hallway is vaguely, how's it looking? Vaguely like it should. Vaguely. Okay, is the adverb of degree there. Before we finish off this lesson, guys, I just want to quickly talk to you about adverbial phrases. This is not something that you need to know in grade 8, But since we've just learned about adverbs, it is beneficial to just note that it doesn't always have to be one word to classify as an adverb. Similarly to the way verbs work, okay, sometimes, often actually, it is a cluster of words that act on behalf of an adverb. Now, when that happens, okay, that is called something called an adverbial phrase. A phrase is a group of words, okay, that's not a full sentence on its own. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So sometimes more than one word can describe the verb. This cluster of words, words act as an adverb. We call this group of words a phrase. Note, phrases cannot be a complete sentence on their own. They need a verb. Sometimes they even have a verb, but you'll note that it's not a finite verb, which we can go back to the verb video for reference to there. So let's look at some adverbial phrase examples. The statue is standing in the garden. Standing is the verb, okay? In the garden is the adverbial phrase. What would you say that adverbial phrase is? It's an adverbial phrase of, it's telling us where something is standing, of place. It's an adverbial phrase of place. Okay, the cutlery is rolling off the table. Rolling is the verb, okay, off the table. Is that telling us, what is that telling us? Is that telling us where again? Yeah, it is. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's also an adverbial phrase of place. Where is it rolling? Off the table. Okay. Like a wrestler, the man stomped into the room. Like a wrestler, the man stomped into the room. How did the man stomp? Like a wrestler. Do you see how that is actually still an adverb? It's still telling us how the how the action is done. Okay, but it's just a group of words. Okay, but that's not a full sentence. You can't just say like a wrestler. You need, what do you need? You need a subject and you need a finite verb for it to be a full sentence. Okay. What is this? This is telling us how. How. So it's an adverbial phrase of manner. Like I said before, you don't need to know this in grade 8, but I figured since we are unpacking adverbs at this stage, it's just beneficial to know so that it doesn't feel like a really strange foreign concept to you down the line. Okay, it's not a scary thing, is it?